Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface, and I don't have an intro for my co-host, the former Navy SEAL.
Everyone's like, what?
Garrett Unkelbach. Yeah, this is the beginning of a very special bonus series that we're going to do for an indefinite period of time. This is the Tools and Tactics series, and the reason we're doing this is we know that there's people out there who they're like, look, love the podcast, or I want to grow, I want to improve, just tell me what to do. And so these just tell me
That's
what to do.
people want to know.
Yeah, they just want to know, how do I do that? Well,
How many times do I need to pick it up and put it down before my arm gets bigger?
Well, that's exactly what these episodes are for, although today is not on weightlifting.
Dang it.
Yeah. If you've listened to this podcast for any period of time, you know that I've said it before, 5 weeks is how long the average, well, it's not even the average. Quitting day was actually in the second Friday of January. But 80% of the country will have failed their New Year's resolutions by February 7th. And we're going to go ahead and release this one.
So this is like a major inflection point.
It is, because now it's like the Pareto principle is in effect. Like 80%
If you can get
fail.
past this, you're probably going to make it.
Right. And so we wanted to release the 3 elements of a highly effective habit, because that's what people are looking for. They want to have habits. They're trying to build some sort
People
of new
think
habit.
like, man, if I just had better habits, I would be a different person. I would get different results.
If you could just buy them at the store or order them on Amazon, that would just be everything. And that's how people think. Well, we have broken down how to build literally any habit. We're going to give you the 3 steps, and then we're going to apply it to the 2 most common New Year's resolutions that there are, according to ChatGPT. So, which is fueled by Yahoo.com and a government website. So we'll get into that in a little bit. By the way, those 2 New Year's resolutions are save money and eat healthier. So we're literally going to give you the three elements, and then we're going to apply them to both saving money and eating healthier. And then we have a little free bonus if you want to get a ebook for this. We're going to go ahead and link to it in the show notes, or you can go to theimpossible.life/habits and get this in writing with a little bit more depth to help you design your habits. So this is basically the episode to tell you exactly what to do to get effective habits.
So the thought process behind all of this is that most people think like, oh man, if I was just like a super disciplined guy, if I was just David Goggins, I could get there, right?
Yeah.
I could have better habits. And it's true, like see discipline as a muscle or a skill or an ability. Having more of it's certainly not going to hurt you, and you're going to need to have at least a little bit of it. But it's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
It's like saying if I was 7'6", I'd be a great NBA player. Make you a much better NBA player.
It increases your chances. Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you would be great.
Yeah.
Right. And your chances of being a 7'6" version of a disciplined person is about as likely as you being a 7'6" person.
That's exactly
so don't
right.
rely on that.
Yeah.
So this first part, there's 3 steps here, right? Number 1 is you've got to have the desire. If I could paint a picture for you or give you an illustration, and we've done an illustration similar to this of these 3 parts. Look at a bridge across like 2 pieces of land, and there's some water underneath. And these 2 pieces, part number 1 here is one of these pieces of land, right? And the bigger the piece of land is, the shorter the bridge has to be. The discipline is the bridge.
Right.
And part number 1 is its desire, right? You have to really, really desire the thing. And the more you desire it, the less discipline is going to be required. And I'll just give you kind of a thought process behind this. Many people come to Garrett and they're like, oh, you must be a super disciplined guy. You're a Navy SEAL man. How do I be disciplined? And I tell most people, you don't actually have a discipline problem, right? I can look at some people's life and be like, dude, you have a serious discipline problem. But that's actually not the problem for most people.
Right.
They've learned a measure of discipline in their life. You don't have to be David Goggins discipline. And I say to them, I go, well, if I asked you to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow and run a marathon, do you think you would do it? And a lot of people are like, ooh, I don't know. That would require a lot of discipline. Those are really disciplined people who get up at 4 a.m. and run marathons. I said, now let me paint the picture for you a different way. If I told you that if you don't get up at 4 a.m. and run a marathon, something terrible is going to happen to your family.
Right.
It changes how you feel about that. You'd say, oh, of course, I would do it. I would get up. I mean, I'm not a good runner, and I don't even have running shoes, but I'll figure it out. Right? I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll run that marathon. I don't want something terrible to happen to my family. That's the power of desire.
Right.
Right. When something really matters to you, and so my saying or my thought process with that for most people is that you don't have a discipline problem, you have a purpose problem.
Right.
Right. Or a desire problem. When you have the right reasons, when you want something bad enough, it's not so hard to get there. Right. So that's step number 1.
And that's why we started with desire, because I'll tell you that most people skip past that and they're like, oh, I'm just not disciplined for the habit. And they don't realize that they didn't want it bad enough. Our man Jim Rohn says, if you really want something, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse.
Exactly.
And that sums it up perfectly.
A lot of people think, well, if I could just get in shape, I'd be more disciplined.
Right.
Right. You actually just need more desire. You need more purpose. You need more reason to be disciplined. Yes, you can't get in shape without being disciplined.
Right.
But if you had a bigger reason, you wouldn't have to be as disciplined.
Right. And we've said the word discipline about 400 times. And guess what step 2 is? The bridge.
Step number 2, discipline. You've got to have it. There's no skipping it.
Right.
You can't jump across this chasm. You have to drive across.
And how do you define discipline, G?
Discipline is doing what you know to do.
There you go.
When you know, like, hey, right, I've got this big dream to get in shape, which requires, I love Comedy Central. They did a great sketch years ago to define how to lose weight. They said, move more, eat less.
Boom.
Right? Yeah, that all it takes is a little bit of discipline to move more and increase your calorie expenditure and decrease your calorie intake. And you have now the magic formula for weight loss.
Yeah.
And you can tell me all your opinions about hormones and all those other things, but there's this law of physics called thermodynamics. And if you have figured out how to turn 1 calorie of energy into 2 calories of output, all of the scientific world would like to study you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? Because you have defied the laws of physics. Anyways, step 2 is discipline. You're going to have to be disciplined.
Right.
There's no way around that. And here's what I will just say on discipline. We're just giving you these 3 steps to build a habit. But here's what I will say on discipline is that discipline develops discipline. And for me, it's not the same for everyone. For me, the first discipline I really developed early in life was fitness. And for a lot of people, and if you're older, you've developed discipline potentially in other areas prior. But when you're a young person, the easiest area to develop fitness or to develop discipline is in the fitness realm.
Right.
And it's a place that if you do the right things for 30 days, you'll see results. Right. Do the right things for 30 days in a lot of areas of your life, you won't see any results.
Right.
But in fitness, you can. So again, discipline, it's simply doing what you know to do. And if you have discipline in any area of your life, you can use what, hey, I got really in shape. I'm a bodybuilder. Well, I can use what I learned about discipline over there to be disciplined in business, to be disciplined in relationships and marriage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly right. And discipline is basically your words and your actions lining up. It really is that simple. I said I'm going to wake up and work out at 5:30 a.m. The alarm goes off. Well, I said it. I'm up and out, right? Doesn't matter. It's not, when I feel like it. It's what you said, and it matches up with what you do.
The discipline part is I don't feel like it, but the discipline makes me do it.
Now, number 3 is design. So we've got desire, discipline, design. I will tell you with habits, I think people bump into desire and design all the time, and they're completely unaware of it.
Design is just as powerful as desire.
Yes.
Remember, create this picture in your mind, or you can draw it on a piece of paper, that you have 2 big pieces of land and a bridge in between. Discipline is the bridge.
Right.
If you're weak at number 1 and 3, the bridge has to be really big. You need a lot of discipline.
Right.
The way that I want to have habits in my life is I don't need as much discipline. Building bridges is expensive.
Right.
Right. So the closer you can get those pieces of land together, shorter the bridge is. Right. And it's good to have desire, but with that, you also want design. Nick has a lot of great examples for design. I'll give you one. If you struggle to be disciplined in getting out of bed in the morning, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, especially if you have a nice, warm, comfortable bed.
Yeah.
Right. And it's cold outside or whatever your conditions are that make it difficult. Take your alarm, instead of putting it by your bed, put it across the room.
Yeah.
Right. You'll get out of bed really fast. Now, your level of discipline didn't change, but the design makes it much easier. Yeah. Once you're already out of bed, to turn off the alarm, it's like, whatever.
Might as well hit 20 push-ups and get after it. Yeah, exactly right. So and so you can see what we're getting at. All right, so we've said desire, discipline, design, and given you a brief overview. Let's apply these to the 2 most important or most popular, because 21 to 26% of Americans said that saving money was their number 1 New Year's resolution. So you're coming into this. If you just want to save money, like we said, what's the first thing? Desire. Saving money for the sake of saving money.
If you want to increase your wealth,
right.
Step 1 is make more money.
Right.
Step 2 is spend less money.
Wow, that's genius. We should maybe do another tools and tactics episode on that one, G. That was great. But on the save money. So first of all, why do you want to save money? And I will tell you this: we've done so much about fuel sources. If it's just for a vacation, your habit is going to last as long as that.
Or if you haven't clearly identified some of the problems and gaps in your life, you've taken this pain and you've numbed it with poor choices that you make. drinking, eating poorly, and just be like, well, I know I'm supposed to.
Right.
I know I should save money.
Yeah.
You have tiny desire.
Right. Yeah. And that's where you have to be real about yourself is like, because the example I was given, if you're just saving for a vacation, you can probably develop a really good habit for 3 or 4 months or however long it takes you to save. And then after that, it all flies out the window.
You got to take your destiny.
Yes. This is where
you got to take your destiny and be like, okay, my destiny is this. I'm going to have this kind of family. I'm going to live this type of life. I'm going to have this type of impact. And you got to bring that's massive thing way off in the future.
Yeah.
And you got to bring it back to the little steps in the sand all the way back to where you're at. And this next step is how much I save next month.
Yeah.
All I have to do to get to there is just take this next step.
Yeah, if you can visualize that you're creating generational wealth for your kids and your kids' kids and actually changing what your family name means, that's a little bit stronger than a desire than, hey, I really want to go to Hawaii.
So that Starbucks or
Yeah.
you know, the where you eat out or whatever, you're like, my destiny, who my kids are going to be versus this, that's an easy decision.
Right. So now the discipline is you got to, what you just said. Okay, I really want to go do, somebody invited me to go do something fun that I didn't plan on. This is going to cost me money. At that point, the discipline is to think back to, okay, I've got a really strong desire and zoom out and be like, is this trip to whatever, Starbucks or out to eat or whatever concert or whatever it may be, more important than what I've put my desire in place? I would hope the answer would be no.
Discipline's not that hard if the desire's right.
That's
It's
exactly
kind
right.
of like I would say like discipline is saying no to food.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like saying no to ice cream. But what if you're not hungry and it doesn't seem like ice cream tastes very good to you? How hard is it to say no to ice cream?
That's super easy.
It's not very hard,
Also,
right?
what's wrong with you? You know?
That's the desire and design portion,
Right.
Desire and design, when you do them right, the ice cream doesn't sound good. You're not hungry.
Right, exactly. Very good. So you can see what we're doing here. So now we've had this really strong desire. You still have to say no on the discipline side. Like you still have to say, hey, sorry, I'm not going to go with you.
Even if you aren't hungry, you're like, well, I mean, but it's ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah, but dude, we're not. We're going to get to eat healthier, G. You're
I'm
skipping
just
ahead of me here.
well, what I'm saying is that you're still going to have to be disciplined.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, you're still going to have to say no, even if you do the right things to make saying no easy.
Yeah.
It never really gets easy; it gets easier.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. And on the design part, if you're trying to save money, what I would do exactly, I would imagine all the times when people are going to invite me to stuff that I'm going to have to say no to, and I would prepare a response. Most people wouldn't think that way. They would think like I'm going to set up auto debits, and yes, that's important. Set up an automatic debit out of your account, move the money so you never even see it, and that's very smart, and move it in. Actually sit down and have a wealth plan for if whatever like we said, the desire in this case that we said would be a really strong one would be generational wealth. I can speak for my own self. I've done a lot of research on this with I'm fortunate enough to have some friends who are very savvy in this. And I have a spreadsheet, not just for my month-to-month budget that's down to the penny, but I have like a 10-year plan for creating generational wealth that has a very specific dollar amount, and it has some assumptions that are built in from a lot of research. So I'm not just saying this. So what do you think my desire is whenever I'm like, well, we could do an extra family vacation, or we could have generational wealth in 10 years and that family vacation wouldn't even be a thing to us. That's how I think. And so I would encourage you, if you're trying to save money, and I use that example, this is where you go, okay, then how much are my outgoings? How much do my incomings need to be? Great. That's exactly where we need to be. This is where that money goes. I never see it. It gets rolled into whatever investment it is or whatever the plan is that you have. And once you have that design in place, as well as how to say no to things that you know would be tempting to you so you don't spend the money that you're trying to save, I think you're ready to roll at that point. Great. So that's number one. Number two, and this is a lot of people, G, eat healthier, right? First of all, let's get right to it. Desire. I will tell a story. I will tell a brief story of somebody I know that they found out that they were about to give themselves type 2 diabetes and they hate needles.
Dang it.
Yeah, well, it was amazing how fast this person got in shape because that desire.
Not because of their health.
Nope, 100% because of a fear of needles and didn't want to have to do that. Got in very good shape, lost a large amount of weight, and will sometimes yo-yo, but by and large has kept it completely off because of that. That's not a desire that we would typically sell, but like once again,
we're just demonstrating the power
that's
of desire.
exactly right. And there wasn't a great design.
For some people, getting in shape is, I don't want to just say vanity, but for some people, getting in shape is like, hey, I want to, feel better about the way that I look. For some people, getting in shape is like, I want to be able to, stand there when my grandkids get married.
Yeah. And that's how I think about
right.
it. Like,
do you want to be on a walker at your grandkid's wedding, or do you want to be able to dance with one of your grandkids?
Our friend James he wants to walk his great grandchildren down the aisle at their wedding. That's one of his.
I want to
desires.
teach my grandkids my grandsons how to ride a motorcycle.
Right. And you've said that before.
Right. And so that means like, not just that I know how to ride a motorcycle, that I'm in a physical condition that I can ride a motorcycle.
Right. So do you see how the strength of desire that Garrett just said might differ from I want to look good in my bathing suit in 3 months? Like as far as how long they're going to last, because when we talk about the strength of habits and we've talked about building effective habits, you can see the reason we stress desire so much is because I think if you get that desire right and you get the design right, the discipline is, like you said, it gets a lot easier.
I think people have and not to get into the long version here, but just, some quick podcast commentary. I think people have a much greater ability than they think they do.
Yeah.
To detect trajectory.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, if I throw a baseball at you, like you see the baseball coming, you can look, it's kind of a pretty cool ability that you can see it way off in the distance and you know where to be to catch the ball. It's kind of an impressive ability that we have. And in the same way, you can look at your life and know that you're on the right trajectory to be able to teach your kids to ride your grandkids to ride a motorcycle, or you're not. Right. We can see whether we're on the right path.
Yeah.
But what the power is that you have this desire, you have this dream, and you can continually bring it back into reality. That you're constantly looking up at the baseball in the distance, and you know where you're going to need to be, the steps that you're going to have to take to be in the right position.
Yeah. So on the eat healthier part, I would, if I'm going to go ahead and break this down, I would have a long-term desire, which I do, which is that I want to always be able to run and lift whatever's needed and be in the same size pants my whole life. That's how I've defined mine. And so the discipline...
I don't have to buy new clothes.
Yeah, I'm just going to be wearing these jeans for 40 years. So the discipline part of this now comes in with, okay, there's always going to be food that pops up that I want to eat. So part of my discipline is also tied into my design. So I weigh myself every morning. I also record everything I eat, and I track my macros. You can get free apps out there. I use MyFitnessPal, 100% free, right? But then on top of that, you also have to design and prepare yourself for discipline. Are you going to build in cheat meals, or are you going to just assume you're going to be a robot forever? Because I'm telling you that you're probably not going to be a robot forever, and you need to build some grace in there for you.
If you want to eat more, you got to move extra more.
Exactly right. But on the design side, it's like, okay, if you know that you might be prone to going out to that surprise meal with somebody at work, and you're going to eat something you shouldn't, guess what comes in? Meal prep, right? So because remember, this is just eat healthier. That's the number 2 goal. So then if you've done all those things, if you've got a really strong desire, if you've got your meal prep, if you're recording your macros, if you've gone and I would even say go get a DEXA scan, because then you can't lie.
Yes.
It'll tell you exactly how fat you are and what your body's made of.
I wish we had a code for that.
Yeah, I do too, because we both use DEXA scans regularly. So that is how I would use those 3 things. My desire is long-term, that I want to be healthy. My discipline is that I do certain things every day. I record my macros. I do my meal prep, which this is also part of design, and I also weigh myself every single day and do DEXAs quarterly. But I still have to go do those things. So there's a discipline of actually executing the design, but getting those 3 things right. And then also, this is where you have to know yourself. The last piece on design, you talked about this briefly, and it made me think about this. If you know, for example, you just don't like working out, if you designed to have a friend that comes and picks you up for your workout, guess what? You're gonna go work out.
You're gonna have a better quality workout, and your level of accountability and show up rate at that workout is gonna be much higher.
Exactly right. So once again, desire, discipline, design. We've talked you through saving money and eating healthier. These are the tools and tactics episodes. They're gonna be short and sharp. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes. It's theimpossible.life/habits. You can get this in written form with a lot more questions to help prompt you so you can design highly effective habits. See y'all again soon.